do we know that we are making a difference? Is it that people tell us? Is it that we see for ourselves? Well, we are going to be speaking with the person behind Queen Esther's Ministries of Trinidad and Tobago, who is a registered nonprofit organization who leverages the goodwill and intention of others to make sure that the vulnerable and marginalized in society can be taken care of. Her name is Esther Ramkissoon. She joins us now. Hello, Mrs. Ramkissoon. How are you doing?
Hi, I am good. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you all.
The pleasure is ours. I see you're wearing your merch. We will even speak about that. But what was the inspiration to have Queen Esther's Ministries?
My life. I grew up in a very rough home. A couple of people who know me well would know. Growing up, we came from an abusive home. I'm the last child of 11. And my father was very abusive to my mother. For the majority of us growing up, we were known to have a single parent. And my father, he never took care of us, never sent us to school, never provided for us. And so my mother struggled really hard to make ends meet. And at the age of 9, well, 7 actually, our home burned down, flat down to the ground. And we had nothing. We were literally on the streets. The food that we ate, the clothes that we wear, the books that we used, everything was as a result of charity. Then my mom would also like make things and sell because there's 11 of us and there's only so much charity that could go around for all of us. So I grew up out of an abusive home, from being homeless and striving to be the person that I am today.
And from that point, you have reached a point where you are actually giving speeches and people are listening to what it is you have to say. And it's not just in Trinidad and Tobago. So tell me a little bit about that too, please.
Well, to be honest, I was invited to speak at the United Nations headquarters for the 17th Youth for Human Rights International Summit, which took place in 2023. I was one of the only delegates there from Trinidad and Tobago. I was one of the first Trinidad and Tobago delegates to attend the conference, and they had 67 countries in total that were represented. Only 10 speakers were chosen, and out of those 10 speakers, I was one of the fortunate ones that were given the opportunity to speak on Queen Esther's Ministries, on our country and the work that I do locally and internationally in terms of speaking and representing the NGO. While there, I was given the opportunity to speak after the education panel on the right of a child to quality education, to good housing, to have food, clothes, and shelter. And it was an honor because the speech was not just streamed to the UN only, but it was streamed to 193 different countries while I was speaking live, giving people the opportunity to learn of Queen Esther's Ministries, learn of my testimony, and learn of what I do locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I touched on the right of the child to quality education. I also shared on what we do every year to ensure that children who are in need, who have all odds against them, basically have the opportunity to access the resources needed for going back to school in September every year. And this is a project that's close to my heart because, like I said, I grew up in a struggling environment where access to basic amenities was very challenging. And so I hold the Back to School initiative close to my heart because I believe that if children are educated and placed in the right environment, they have the opportunity to beat all odds and to change the negative statistics in society that if not educated, they become incarcerated because they gravitate towards the crime life. So I touched on all of those things. I also shared up my story of how I founded Queen Esther's Ministries. I touched on what Trinidad and Tobago is like as a small country that's tucked away in the Caribbean. And it was nice to be able to network with different countries, different NGOs, and different partners to make a difference here locally.
So don't save it all for them, I want you to tell us some as well, because sometimes people say that your test can reach before your testimony. And it's one thing to say, okay, well, yes, mommy made and sold, charity was there, but how do you start to turn this and say, okay, well, as opposed to just, I am trying to do for myself, I'm trying to be better than I was with my siblings. How do you start to look back and say, okay, well, now I'm in a position, or even if you may not be in the position that other people may say, well, you had to reach these things before you can start to help others. How did you form Queen Esther's Ministry? Because it's one thing to say this is a good idea, it's another thing to actually do.
Yes, it was a journey. So the growing up wasn't the only challenge I had in terms of lacking food, clothes, shelter. Being a young adult was another challenge. When I wanted to go back to school, that was a challenge. I started working at the age of 15. I had dropped out of school because of finances and other reasons, and I started working at the age of 15. So eventually, I went back to evening classes where I obtained all my CXC passes, 2 subjects at a time. So I had a desire to fight because I wanted better for myself as well. And I knew that the only way better could come is if I educate and push myself forward. I didn't have much support. I had very little support to do it, but I fought really, really hard, and it was not easy. And when I sent myself back to school, I got a job. And then from one job, I got a better job. And so I sent myself to do accounting. And then from accounting, I did a diploma in theology. And life started to become positive for me. But it didn't just happen overnight. It took years of work and commitment and trials and dedication. And from there, I said, I looked at other NGOs locally here in Trinidad. And I would always see they would give hampers and they would give things. And I'd be like, how this hamper is supposed to last a family who in need more than a week? Because it's so small, it usually has 1 5-pound flour, sometimes even a 2-pound flour. And you're a family struggling with 3 or 4 children, much less 11, some people. I hope not in this day and age. But that hamper is so small, it's not going to be sufficient to last very long. And there are some people who actually want better, but all the odds are against them and they need some kind of support. Then I look at the back to school packages that some people give out, and it doesn't have all the stationery items that a child would need. So you find they go to school with that they got from someone, and they still short by, say, 3 notebooks or 4 notebooks to cover the 9 or the 12 subjects that they're doing. And I purpose in my heart that one day God is going to bless me and I'm going to do so much bigger and so much better. When we just started Queen Esther's Ministries, it was just a thought in my heart. And I mean, my name is Esther. I like to make it clear to everybody, the NGO is not named after me. I'm a believer. The NGO is a faith-based organization, and I based it off of the book of Esther in the Bible, because she interceded for her people. And when she did that and she was blessed, then she was able to help the people. So I'm literally reaching out to partners, reaching out to sponsors who will want to partner with me. And then I'm able to help people out there. So the story is similar. And to put all the resources together, we do a hamper that's valued at least 500 TT with all the essential items. So the back to school drive isn't just a book bag with stationeries. It's also a hamper of groceries for the family, as well as a meal for every child on the day. And when I started doing it, I started just 10 families only, because we had just started. We couldn't afford much. So it was 10 families, and I went with this vision that I had, that I knew I'm going to help people make a difference. And a year later, we were able to do 100. And each book bag, if the booklet says the child needs 9 notebooks, you can be sure that that child gets 9 notebooks. So I make it a complete package.
A complete package. And I'm very grateful that you even included the rationale for the name, But even if you say it's not you, I think you're following in the footsteps and doing the work, because even the way that you would have said is not a thought in your head, because sometimes thoughts in your head can only take you so far, but that inspiration that's just upon your heart can carry you further away. Don't even, because if you're, especially if you're led by faith and not sight. But we continue the conversation. We are speaking with Mrs. Esther Ramkissoon, the person behind Queen Esther's Ministries of Trinidad and Tobago. And we also want, on the other side of the break, to find out how you can get involved. Stay with us. We return after this. Welcome back. We are speaking about the work of Queen Esther's Ministries, Trinidad and Tobago. And to do that, we are speaking with the person behind who's following in the footsteps of Queen Esther, Esther Ramkissoon. And so he said from 10 to 100 hampers. What was that process like? Is it that you're reaching out to persons in the community? Is you reaching out to persons further afield? Is it that you made some of those links after the conversation you had at the UN? Let us know now.
So it's everything that you said. When people heard of the work that we do and they saw it on social media, because we have a following on social media, they would reach out to me and say, I see you doing this and that's such a great job and how we could help. So a lot of it started coming in from by the regular daily paid persons. And then other persons who meet me say, you should apply to this company or that company. And everything was a learning process for me. Because like I said, it was a vision, it was a thought in my mind, it was a passion in my heart, and whatever I needed to follow through to get it done, I was willing to go the extra mile. So I started to reach out to organizations locally here in Trinidad, and National Flour Mills became one of my good sponsors, Scotiabank Foundation, Trinidad and Tobago, a couple of other places like National Gas Company, all those places started partnering with me. And so we expanded. We went to 100, we went to 120, and now we're going up to 150 this year. And then when I visited the UN and I spoke there, there's one of my sponsors in particular who I would mention. Her name is Winnie Testamark, and she is what we know here as Commissioner of Prisons in Trinidad and Tobago. She's something like that at the U.S. Virgin Islands, and she became one of our sponsors, as well as Mr. Carly Holder. He has an organization that deals with correctional work in the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as regionally and internationally. And when they heard of the work that we do through the UN visit, they partnered with us to make a difference. And as we grow in partnership, we expand in the numbers of children that we're able to assist. So this year, we're actually doing 150 children. And we're giving those 150 children, each child will receive approximately 1,000 TT dollars in donations, and that's a wholesale price. If you go to add the retail value of it, it will be a lot more, because we purchase things in bulk, wholesale, so that we are able to get more out of the donations to help a lot more children. So to date, as we're celebrating our 4-year anniversary this year, we are able to expand to the point where we're able to help a lot more children in Trinidad and Tobago.
Let's say something when you have that growth of people who believe in the work that you're doing, because sometimes someone may want to say, okay, well, let me put resources behind someone, but they're not sure whether or not there's full transparency, whether or not there's accountability. Where are these things going? Are they going where they say they go to? But when you see some of the names that you call, some of the individuals that you call, and you see that they believe in the project, it may be easier for individuals to say, all right, this is something that I can get behind, almost on the snowball effect, or some people like to say, the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, not because everything multiplied by one person, as opposed to when people see this person was a little bit start to share, they dig in their pocket too and start to pull out things. So, but with that in mind, how do people dig in their pockets? Is it time? Is it something you want as well from individuals? How can people contribute to the work that you're doing?
So We use like-minded individuals, but 99% of my volunteers are youths. I take youths who I know from in church or from the community, and it's an investment in their life as well. So the youths aren't just volunteering their time, but we are investing in their lives while they volunteer with us. The majority of them are doing their tertiary studies at this time, and so they were able to receive recommendations from us. They were able to receive letters to take to the government to be accepted for bursary funding for studies, letters to get to their internship program. So they are also benefiting as well from giving of their time. And then we're also asking people to donate. Now, as you touched on transparency, what we do, a big part of Queen Esther's Ministries is our transparency with our partners and sponsors. Every year, the Back to School Drive is the biggest drive that we do, apart from the Christmas drive. And then we also do a drive in Tobago. But as we're on the Back to School Drive, what we do is every company or every person that donates, we give them the opportunity to attend the back to school distribution, or the company can send a rep, and that way they are able to see. We also issue yearly newsletters that is sent to everyone so they see where their finances are going, even if they weren't able to attend. So how we ask people to partner with us in the immediate right now, this year, because of my limited mobility due to some family advancements, I am actually unable to move around as much as I would to go to the companies and stuff myself personally. So we're still in need of a lot of the stationery items. And so we're asking persons, you can either go up on our Facebook page or you can call us directly. We have an updated listing of the exact quantity that we are still in need of to make the 150 book bags as well as the grocery items. If you prefer to donate items, we are perfectly fine with that. We provide you with what we are still in need of, and you can tell us what you're going to donate. We will mark it off the list. If you prefer to donate financially, we advise that you do it directly through an online transfer to the NGO account. If you want to drop the finances, that's fine. But for the sake of you being comfortable, we advise you to go through the NGO's bank account. And as of recently, we are building relationships internationally, we launched an account with WePay where international sponsors can just go up on our website or even receive the link through the Facebook page. Click on it, it will take you directly to our WePay account. You fill in how much you want to donate, and it's as simple as that. It will go directly to the bank account for our NGO.
And some people prefer that because there isn't, okay, well, some of it's settled during packaging, this, in terms of like sending it directly to the account. We have about 30 seconds more. Is there anything you want to say in this closing time frame? And also, if people are asking, because people like merch sometimes too. So some of those tops, because there's a hoodie as well. If they're available, let us know about that as well, please.
So we're asking persons to please reach out to us and donate. To all of our sponsors and our volunteers, we really want to thank you for your hard work and dedication. All of our information is provided on our social media pages. You can reach out to us. Our hoodie is the first of its kind, and we are actually branching out to selling them to raising funds for the NGO. We are working out the prices. We have hoodies, we have t-shirts, and we have shirts as well. So if you're interested, you simply reach out to us, tell us your size, and place your orders, and all the profit from it goes towards initiatives that are upcoming with Queen Esther's Ministries.
Feel like I had to beg you for that last one, but thank you so much. One, thank you for the information. Two, thank you for helping to ignite that spark in manner and similar to the 5 loaves and 2 fish that we spoke about. And 3, thank you for turning your experience into positive that benefits so many others, and the ripple effect continues. We've been speaking with Mrs. Esther Ramkissoon, the person behind Queen Esther Ministries of Trinidad and Tobago. And on behalf of the entire TTT news team, this has been In Depth with me, Dk Rostant. Thank you so much for tuning in.